Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you are listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in Libra. So this one is coming up on the 16th of April. But before we do that, let me mention a few important things. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, therefore all videos on my channel and all episodes on my podcast will follow Western tropical astrology. In my practice, I use the whole sign house system. So if you use Placidus or any other house system like equal houses, go ahead. But all my videos follow the whole sign house system. And I have a very, very, very important announcement to make. In May of 2022, I will be running a 1 month long intensive course focused on forecasting with transits. We will get together live 5 times for roughly 12 hours in total, and you will learn from me and together with me and with fellow astrology students how to forecast using transits. I'm going to leave a link in the description box if you want to sign up for the course. All sessions, all live sessions will also be recorded. So if you cannot make it live, then that's absolutely fine. You can rewatch or watch the class later at your convenience. And this is not a course for beginners. I do want to flag that. It is a course suitable for those who have a foundational knowledge of astrology, who know how to interpret natal charts, and you don't have to be an expert. I repeat, you don't have to be an expert in natal chart interpretation, but you do have to know the basics. So what does a planet in a house in a sign mean? The symbolism of all planets, and so on. So you're going to find the link to sign up for the course in the description box. And I'm also going to leave it in the comments section. I'm going to leave it in the pinned comment. 16th of April, folks, 3 days before, 3 days after, full moon in Libra. Let us dive right in. Let's look at the astrology of this full moon. So it's going to be happening at 26 degrees 45 minutes of Libra. Therefore, all those of you who have planets in cardinal signs, Libra, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, around 26 degrees will feel this full moon the most. This full moon reflects back themes that may have come up in your lives around the 6th of October last year in 2021, because that's when we experienced the new moon in Libra of this cycle. We have a very tense situation in the sky at the time of the full moon. It's a mixed bag. This full moon is a mixed bag. On the one hand, we have tension. We have the sun and the moon in opposition to each other, obviously, as they always are at a full moon, and in a square to Pluto in Capricorn. So there will probably be secrets coming to the surface. There will probably be tension, intensity, especially in relationships. At a collective level, I dare say, this probably will manifest a lot when it comes to diplomatic relationships, because Libra is the sign of diplomacy. There may be, let's say, hidden factors that come to the surface at the time of this full moon that impact quite strongly diplomatic relationships between countries. There can be, like I said, secrets, let's say, very powerful developments that took place behind the scenes between the elites, between those who hold the power but aren't necessarily in the spotlight. We're probably going to hear quite a bit of that. I'm just going to throw that out there. Difficult diplomatic decisions may need to be taken at the time of this full moon. Not everyone's going to be happy. I mean, how can they with the square to Pluto? Pluto in general is associated in astrology with whatever lies buried. So you could say that oil, gas, mining, they all fall under the governance of Pluto. So we might actually hear some news around that as well. And it might be quite worrying. It might be quite intense what we have to deal with at the time as a collective. There could be some figurative explosions in relationships. I will just say it, the sun in Aries wants what it wants. The moon in Libra is like, okay, but can we find a middle ground? And actually, Pluto in Capricorn comes into play and says, here are the facts, deal with them. You're not going to like them, but alas, it is what it is. The good news about this full moon, because I told you it's a mixed bag, so I've been preparing you for the more challenging part. The good news is the following. The ruler of this full moon is Venus. Venus is exalted at the time in Pisces. Jupiter is also in Pisces there, conjunct Neptune. And Venus is going to be harmoniously aspecting Mercury the messenger. Essentially, something's coming to an end. Something is kind of like breaking apart. Very difficult decisions may need to be taken at a diplomatic level in relationships. But on the other hand, there's probably a big part of us that is relieved. It's like, okay, now we can move forward. This isn't actually all that bad. There is a way to look at the situation to see the glass half full. Venus in Pisces also makes me think that the decisions that will be taken at a collective level will be taken with a view to save whoever can still be saved in this situation, even if, let's put it this way, everyone feels a little bit, all parties involved, especially parties in conflict, they might both feel like losers. No one wins 100%, but there is still a half full side to this, glass that is exposed at the time of this full moon. Tension, conflicts, but also a way to move forward, even if that means cutting someone out of your life at an individual level, my dear listeners and followers. So let's dive into the update for each zodiac sign. I strongly recommend that you listen to the update for your rising sign if you know your rising sign. If you don't know it, then listen to the update for the sun sign. The sun sign is the second best update that you can listen to. Obviously, the stars, or let's say the signs that will be the most in the spotlight at the time of this full moon are Aries and Libra, because the moon is going to be in Libra, the sun is going to be in Aries. So my dear Aries suns and Aries risings. So what can you expect at the time of this full moon, 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after? You're going to feel this the most if you have planets in the natal chart, especially around 26 degrees of cardinal signs. So if you have your sun around 26 degrees of Aries, if you have your ascendant around 26 degrees, again, you're going to feel this the strongest. Please look back, have a think about what you were up to, what you were doing, what was going on in your relationship sector last year in October, especially around the 6th of October. Did you enter into a new relationship? Did you start working together with someone career-wise? Did you initiate a new business partnership? That is the question, because you seem to be reaching a culminating moment in that area of your life. So this full moon pinpoints to a completion, a culmination. When it comes to partnerships, when it comes to relationships, I'm just going to say the following. This full moon is going to be squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 10th house. So there's probably going to be a lot of tension, conflict, a face-off with a partner. I'm going to go out there and say it that it's probably going to be more work-related. That's what I feel, especially since Venus is going to be in your 12th house, harmoniously aspecting Mercury in your second house of income, harmoniously aspecting Uranus there as well. You might decide to stand up to a boss. You might decide to say goodbye to an old business partner. You may cut someone out of your life relationship-wise. You may call someone out business-wise and career-wise, someone who is abusing their power. If you do call them out, be prepared to walk away. You might decide to walk away from a strategic partnership. You may also feel betrayed by a boss around this time, but if you do, you are in a position of power, because it does feel like letting go and also facing the situation makes room for something much better for you financially, and it also seems to really kind of like improve your sense of self-worth and self-esteem. And it could, like I said, also attract new exciting opportunities financially for you, my dear Aries. So if you feel like walking away from a business partnership, if you feel like standing up to a boss, I would do it. This is a very tense time, especially if you are in a committed partnership, even romantically, because it may feel like a partner has been hiding something from you. I will say it, not necessarily because they wanted to, but maybe because they thought they were sparing you from unnecessary suffering, but you may actually feel more insulted almost as a result of them thinking that you're not strong enough to face this. Let's put it this way. Forgiveness is key many times. And regardless of whether you decide to stay in the relationship or not, do forgive yourself, do forgive the other person, so that you feel at ease and at peace with yourself. And forgiveness may actually come more easily than it normally does, with that Venus in a harmonious aspect to Mercury and to Uranus in your second house. And that is Aries. Now let's look at what's happening for Taurus, Taurus suns and Taurus risings. My dear Taurus, 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon triggering your axis of service, your 6th house, 12th house axis. Especially if you have planets around 26 degrees of cardinal signs, you're going to feel this the strongest. Look back at what you were doing work-wise and health-wise last year around the 6th of October, because this full moon may bring those initiatives, those maybe projects to an end. There's a completion, there's a peak there. There is a possibility that you may end, or you may be pushed to finalize a project work-wise, and you're not necessarily super happy with the way things have turned out. I don't necessarily see you being super excited about how things have turned out, maybe because your standards and the way you normally do things weren't necessarily respected. Saying that, Venus, the ruler of this full moon, in your 11th house, is in a harmonious aspect with Mercury and Uranus in the first house. Essentially, if you wrap up something work-wise, yeah, maybe it's not exactly what you thought it would be or how you thought it would be wrapped up, but it seems to be making room in your life for more enjoyment, more excitement, more fun with friends, more social outings, and so on. So do let it go. Some of you might decide to leave behind a job because, because it is no longer aligned with your mentalities, and it is no longer aligned with what matters to you, what's important to you, with your life philosophy. Some of you may have to cancel or postpone a trip of a work-related nature. If you do, enjoy time spent with friends, because there will probably be a lot of enjoyment to be and a lot of fun to be had in the company of friends. So rather than crying over what is kind of like done and can't be undone, I would focus on what is going really well in your life, and that seems to be your social life, your connection with others, feeling welcome and loved and appreciated in your circle. Now, if you are a Gemini sun or a Gemini rising, 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in Libra in your 5th house. It is triggering the 5th house 11th house axis, and it is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 8th house. Okay, so interesting what's going on here. First of all, look back, my dear Geminis, at what you were doing relationship-wise, romantically, and in terms of creative projects. And also, if you have children, what was going on in the life of your kids last year around the 6th of October? Because there could be a continuation of those themes and a peak, a culmination of those themes at the time of this full moon. there could be some massive, especially if you have kids, there could be some massive expenses that make their way to you around this time, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I did not know that this was coming. And it could be an expense that is related to children, so don't say I didn't warn you about it. Secondly, please, my dear Geminis, if you have, oh my gosh, okay, let's put it this way. If you have investments, don't gamble. If an investment isn't exactly returning what you thought it would return at this point in time, maybe it would be a better idea to kind of like just let it sit and just allow things to flow rather than take any sort of like fast action. Why do I say this? Because Venus is going to be harmoniously aspecting the ruler of the full moon. It's going to be harmoniously aspecting Mercury and Uranus in the 12th house. So it's almost like Venus and Pisces harmoniously aspecting planets in the 12th house are saying, let it go, let it flow, don't fight it, don't push it too hard. There could be some significant expenses also making their way to you, Geminis, as a result of maybe how much fun you've been having. So if you've been going out, if you've been kind of like spending a lot of time in public with friends, enjoying your social life, I will tell you, there could be a bill or like an expense, like a credit card debt or something like that, that comes and kind of like knocks you in the face around this time. Saying that, this could also be a time when you successfully, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like that, you're stressed, but you seem to successfully complete a creative project that is very nicely, very well received by others. But you might not necessarily be feeling like 100% sure that this is it, I've done the best job that I could. However, the outside world seems to think that you've delivered a great project. So maybe it is kind of like a good idea to step back and say, okay, if you say so. Now, if you are a Cancer Sun or Cancer Rising, 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, this full moon, my lovely Cancerians, is activating your 4th house of home and living situation and also your 10th house of career. It's squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 7th house. It's tense. I will say it. You may not see eye to eye with a partner, with a life partner, with a committed partner. You may not see eye to eye with them on a matter that involves your living situation, on a matter that involves property. You could be feeling torn between two options. Your partner might say, let's do this. And you might be thinking, oh no, but like, is this the right thing to do? There could be a lot of indecision there. You may also feel pressured maybe in a way by a partner to take a decision connected with your home, your family, and the area of real estate. And you don't want to take it. It's like, I don't know. So that's what you could be dealing with. Saying that, Venus in the 9th house in Pisces is going to harmoniously aspect Mercury and Uranus in your 11th house. Essentially, it's good to take a bit of a step back, to take some distance from this decision that you need to make, and to look at things holistically, to look at where you want to be headed, home-wise, family-wise, living situation-wise. Where do you see yourself in the long run? What resonates with you on an emotional and intuitive level? Rather than being caught up in like, oh, I have to decide now, my partner is pressuring me, or maybe they've been moving a little bit behind your back and you feel left out. No, look at it from the mountaintop and say, okay, it is what it is. Where am I headed from here? Or where do I want to be headed from here? What is my vision? Also have a think about what was going on in this area of your life last year in October, around the 6th of October, because there could be a continuation of those themes or a peak, a culmination of those themes. Some of you Cancerians might move out of the house. Some of you may also experience something kind of like bursting in the house. I don't know, like a pipe or something like that. There could be something, I don't know, like mold maybe coming to the surface around this time. I don't want to say pests, but if you have a basement, or if you have like if you live in a house, in an actual house, you could be dealing with some pests. Just saying, maybe it is worth checking the basement. Maybe it is worth checking that you don't have, I don't know, like rats or something like that. Now, if you are a Leo sun or a Leo rising, this full moon in Libra, my dear Leos, 3 days before, 3 days after the 16th of April, pay attention, please, 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 to the entire period, is triggering your axis of learning and traveling. Third house, ninth house axis. Look back at what you were doing in terms of learning, studying, traveling, making plans to travel, and so on. Look back at what you were doing last year around the 6th of October, because this full moon may actually bring to a close themes that were on your mind, that you were dealing with, that were kind of like preoccupying you at the time in October in 2021. If you're waiting for results in terms of exams, in terms of classes, courses, I'm just gonna say it. It may not be exactly what you thought. You might need to retake an exam, or you might get like a lower grade than you thought you would. In any case, it feels like you're not 100% satisfied with the result. The good news is the following. Venus, which is the ruler of this full moon, is in a harmonious aspect to Mercury and Uranus and Taurus in the 10th house. In your 10th house of career and public status and public reputation, whatever comes out of this kind of like exam situation, or you feeling tested, whatever comes out of it, it does feel like you can turn what feels like a crisis, you can turn it in your favor. Maybe it's kind of like making room for you to move forward in a new direction career-wise. Maybe it's pinpointing to you, okay, I need help on this front. I can't do it all myself. If you are planning to travel, especially for work, my dear Leos, please leave the house like 5 hours in advance. Allow for plenty of time to kind of like make up for possible delays and things like that. There could be frustration on the road. There could be delays. I don't know. There could be kind of like things breaking in the middle of the road. Not necessarily for you. It could be for other drivers, but you're kind of like caught up. So there's some tension here. You might need to repair the car around this time. Is it worth keeping it, or are you better off selling it and getting a new one? That's the big question. If some things come across as unrepairable at this time, maybe that's a sign. Maybe they are. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, my dear Virgos, this full moon in Libra is activating your financial axis. Second house, 8th house axis. Okay, have a think about what was going on for you financially around the 6th of October last year, because you may be dealing with similar themes at this time, or you may be closing up a financial chapter that was front and center when it comes to your focus last year in October, Virgos. You might need to pay for something significant at this point in time. You might need to pay off a debt. You might need to pay off your credit card. You may need to pay your taxes. You may also feel at this point in time like you are spending a lot of money. I'm going to say it again, a lot of money on a nice to have in your life. On maybe something that is kind of like fun, maybe something that has to do with your passions, with your hobbies, and you could be feeling guilty, you could be feeling stressed, but what's the point of life if not to enjoy it and to also to an extent, I am a fan and a supporter of treating yourselves. Obviously, there's a limit to everything, but you know about limits, Virgo. Just saying. So rather than beating yourself up and thinking, oh my gosh, this is so expensive, I can't afford it, etc., 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 think about how competent you are and how much more money you can make in general, because you've got the skills to make money. This could also be a time when you hear news connected with finances, your finances, other people's finances, shared resources. I like the fact that Venus in Pisces in the 7th house is harmoniously aspecting your planets, transiting planets in the 9th house. So it would be a good idea if you're freaking out about some sort of financial matter, it would be a good idea to maybe talk to a partner, a romantic partner, a business partner, or to a consultant, such as an accountant, because they might actually put things into perspective for you and say, listen, you've got this, you can afford this, you're good, you're in a good place, you're in a good position. So don't freak out. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings. This full moon is obviously putting the spotlight on you because it is happening in your sign, and especially if you have your ascendant or your sun around 26 degrees of Libra, you will be feeling this the most. So 3 days before, 3 days after the 16th of April, you're going to be dealing with themes, Libras, that you most likely also dealt with on a personal level, and also when it comes to relationships, themes that you dealt with last year around the 6th of October. So maybe you can have a think about what was unfolding in your life at the time. This full moon is forming a tense aspect with Pluto and Capricorn in your 4th house of home. However, Venus, the ruler of the full moon, is very nicely aspected to Mercury and Uranus in Taurus in the 8th house. So some Libras might decide to cut someone out of their lives, a business partner or a life partner. Some Libras, if you're single, might have a revelation as to what exactly in their past or what exactly in their home and family life is keeping them from connecting with the right person, is keeping them from connecting with the one, let's say. If you are already in a relationship, either you or your partner might experience some difficulties when it comes to your relationship with a parent, and that could also put a strain on your own relationship. I'd say that you're probably not necessarily seeing eye to eye when it comes to a family matter, when it comes to a living situation matter. If there is some sort of crisis happening in the home at the time of the full moon, please keep in mind, Libras, that you've got Venus on your side, really nicely aspected to Mercury, to Uranus. It feels like you will have around you the people who can help you get out of this situation of crisis. It also feels like you need to ask for help if you can't solve it on your own. And you may also have to, in order for the situation to kind of like move forward, you might have to reveal to the person who you are in conflict with, because you may be in conflict with a partner, with a parent, there's a face-off. You may realize that it's important to reveal to this person some sort of buried wound or trauma that you're carrying with you, so that they can understand where you're coming from, and that might change the entire dynamic of this situation. It's a tense one. You may complete, even if not necessarily in the most pleasant of ways, you may complete a cycle of growth, of self-development, and you may also become very acutely aware of some of your blind spots, Libra, in relationships. Now, this could come as a result of a very kind of like heavy, like an emotionally charged interaction. Nevertheless, there is a very positive side to this, because once you know what your blind spots are, you're aware of the fact that they exist, and you can consciously make better informed choices. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, my dear Scorpios, this full moon is activating your 12th house, 6th house axis, so what I like to call the axis of service. It is putting the spotlight in particular on matters connected with the shadow, on matters connected with retreat, isolation, institutions, letting go, surrendering, something of that nature. The 12th house is also the house of spirituality. Have a think about what was going on, Scorpios, in your life in these areas around the 6th of October, because you may experience a culmination, a peak at the time of this full moon in April, around the 16th of April. You may become very acutely aware of something that you were doing on a day-to-day basis that was negatively impacting your mental health. You may also become aware of some negative thought patterns that you need to eliminate at this time. And I'm going to say it again. The key word here is elimination. So don't be afraid to kind of like extricate some ideas out of your head and ask yourself, why do I think like this? Or why am I thinking of this? Or maybe I should talk to other people, or maybe I should watch the news less. These are all kind of like valid questions to ask yourself at the time of this full moon. There could also be some challenging news or some challenging interactions that you experience at work. And you might decide, you know what, I need some time off. I'm just going to walk away. You might decide to walk away for good from a job. I do want to flag that you have the support of loved ones at the time. I do want to flag that Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is very nicely aspected to transiting planets in your 7th house. It feels like you have a stronger understanding of what you like and what you dislike. A clear understanding. It's okay sometimes to release something that maybe we felt was our duty in order to focus more on what brings us joy. Life is not about suffering. Life is also not about avoiding suffering, but maybe it's a case of assessing what's going on, especially in your work and also in relationships with others and in communication and in daily interactions with others. Maybe it's time to kind of like analyze that, Scorpio, and ask yourself, have I suffered enough? Do I need to sacrifice myself still? Like, why? Valid question. There could be a flare-up health-wise that you experience, Scorpios, at this point in time. You probably need rest. And you also probably need more joy in your life. If you do experience anything health-wise, it's probably more your subconscious kind of like shouting at you and saying, why are you doing this to us? Take it easy. So, just so you know. My dear Sagittarius, Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. This full moon in Libra, it's tense. It's tense for everyone, but I feel like you're probably going to be, especially Sagittarius risings, you're going to be some of the few kind of like signs that aren't kind of like being hit or smacked that badly in the face, let's say. So this full moon is triggering your 11th house, 5th house axis. You are probably bringing to a close, you're completing a long-term project, a long-term goal. Now, I don't know if it's exactly how you thought it would end. That is kind of like coming to fruition right now. So I don't know if that exact scenario is coming to fruition right now. You may decide actually to no longer pursue something that you are invested in because it's just costing a lot. This full moon is tensely aspecting Pluto in the 2nd house. If you go out with friends, if you go out celebrating, if you go out socializing, it's probably going to be a very expensive period. I repeat, a very expensive full moon. So maybe keep your eyes peeled a little bit for that credit card and for how quickly you're swiping it, because you might be left a little bit out of pocket at the time of this full moon. Let's see what else to be aware of. Listen, you might realize that some people in your life are just no longer aligned with your value system, like, and they're not helping you achieve what you've set out to achieve. So it's okay to outgrow people. Give yourself permission to do that. Venus in the 4th house is going to nicely aspect Mercury and Uranus and Taurus in your 6th house of day-to-day work. Essentially, there's some really positive stuff happening in your home and family life. Maybe you're also feeling like your social life as you know it is kind of like coming to a close, coming to an end, but that's not a bad thing in itself. Maybe you're just freaking out because you don't know what that's going to mean in the long run for your connections with others and so on. But do enjoy what's happening in your home and family life. Do kind of like give yourself credit for making things happen in that area of your life, because you are probably making things happen. Some of you Sagittarius folks, especially Sagittarius risings, some of you may hear news of pregnancy. I'll just put it out there. Maybe it's not necessarily you or your partner getting pregnant, but it could be someone in the family. So don't say I didn't tell you. Now, if you are a Capricorn sun or a Capricorn rising, my lovely Capricorns, this full moon in Libra is reflecting back themes that you probably dealt with last year in October, around the 6th of October. So have a think about what you were doing last year career-wise. Did you get a new job, a new promotion? Did you maybe step into a new industry? Did you consider maybe a new path career-wise? Because you may get a lot of clarity, and I repeat, a lot of clarity at the time of this full moon, and clarity also connected maybe with a part of yourself that you were trying to repress, because this full moon is squaring Pluto in the 1st house. This could also be a time time when you feel very exposed in the spotlight and the public eye for something that you would have rather kept hidden, but alas, everyone's watching. So it's almost like you're called to air the laundry in order to bring the situation to a close. Some of you Capricorns might reach a point of ending, of closure, of completion connected with their status. So I'm just gonna say it. Some people might finalize, I don't know, like a divorce or something like that. Some people might announce to the outside world, listen, I'm no longer going to be activating in this industry. I'm going to do something very, very different because I've been working on this in the background and I've been keeping it to myself. And you might be feeling quite judged, Capricorns. The good news is there's part of you that is kind of like relieved that this is happening. Part of you feels free. You feel exposed and also free. Some of you might leave your jobs and might actually change industries. There could be some tension with parents at this time. Maybe you need to reveal something to parents that you've kept hidden, but you are feeling relieved. I like the fact that Venus in the 3rd house is nicely aspecting Mercury and Uranus in your 5th house. It's like you're opening up about a part of yourself that is very important, that matters, that you enjoy, that is making life worth living. So yes, maybe some people will judge you. So what? Maybe parents will judge you. I'm just gonna say it again. So what? But of course, it's easy for me to speak because, alas, I'm an Aquarius. I'm not a Capricorn. So maybe I don't actually have the same respect for tradition as you do, Capricorns. If you're an Aquarius sun or an Aquarius rising, my fellow Aquarius brothers and sisters. Okay, so this full moon isn't that bad for us. Well, why is that? Because Libra is a sign that is very nicely aspected to Aquarius. If we are talking about whole sign aspects, Libra is a sign that trines Aquarius. So something is coming to a close, to a completion, to a culmination, probably from an educational standpoint. Maybe you are wrapping something up from an educational standpoint. You're finalizing a course, a class, you're finalizing your studies. Maybe it's not exactly finalizing things like you thought you would. There is kind of like a hidden element. Maybe that is coming to the surface right now and you're thinking, oh, I didn't know this was left. Or I didn't know that this was also important. There could be some maybe challenging news exams-wise, educationally. But on the other hand, Venus is nicely aspecting the planets in your 4th house, Venus from the 2nd. If you do need to retake something, or if you do need to wrap something up and you aren't feeling 100% sure about how you're wrapping it up educationally and so on, give yourself some credit. Have a little faith. Have a little faith because intuitively you seem to know a lot more about this topic maybe than you kind of like feel you do logically and rationally. This could also be a time when you make plans to travel, but also a time when existing travel plans may not play out as you thought they would. So I'm warning you in case you're going somewhere, in case you're traveling. There could be kind of like an unexpected element coming to the surface. There could be something that you could not have predicted coming to the surface that says, nope. It ain't gonna happen exactly as you thought it would. You also seem to be getting good news financially around this time. So even if travel plans don't play out as you thought they would, there is also good news making their way to you. And my dear Pisces suns and Pisces risings, 16th of April, 3 days before, 3 days after, full moon in your 8th house of shared resources, of inheritance, investments, debts, taxes, intimacy. This full moon, my dear Pisces, is reflecting back themes that you probably dealt with also around the 6th of October last year, at the time of the new moon in Libra. So, there is good news and there's challenging news. If you've been applying for a mortgage, for instance, or for a loan or something of that nature, it may not necessarily get accepted, or you may not necessarily get exactly what you asked for. Saying that, Venus and Pisces in your 1st house is very nicely aspected to the planets transiting your 3rd house. Even if you don't get exactly the news that you thought you would get about a loan, a mortgage, an inheritance, and so on, you already seem to have solutions. So your mind is kind of like already thinking. You've got, not only do you have a backup plan, I dare say you probably have a better plan. And I also dare say, talk about it to people around you, colleagues, siblings, neighbors, because they might have some invaluable advice to share with you that actually solves the situation in a way that you did not think of. This could also be a time when you feel, I'll just say it, maybe a little bit betrayed by one of your friends, or maybe you hear some news that is quite disturbing about one of your friends, some sort of crisis in the life of a friend. Also, news connected with investments. Let's put it this way: it's a mixed bag if you have investments. I don't know if it's the right kind of move to go all in. I would kind of like allow things to settle a little bit and not act too fast, and kind of like just allow the dust to settle rather than making quick moves and cashing in and actually losing out. Of course, I'm no financial advisor. You're completely responsible for your financial decisions, but it may be wise to not move too fast, even if you're panicking a little bit, possibly, when it comes to an investment. Just take it slow, talk to people around you, and there seem to be ideas popping up in your head that are probably much more wise than to freak out. This could also be a time when you have to make a significant payment. It is what it is. I'll just say it. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive than you thought you would have to kind of like deal with. What can I say? Folks, thank you once again for tuning in. It was a pleasure to share the full moon updates with you. Let us know, all of us, because even if I don't respond to the comments, I do read them, and I know other people read them as well. Do let us know how this full moon plays out for you. And if you want to work with me, if you want to book a live Zoom consultation, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. So I do offer readings. I do live consultations with clients. I'm currently taking bookings for the second half of May. Also remember that in May, I'm running the astrological forecasting with transits course. This is a course for those who already know, who are familiar with natal chart interpretation. Again, you don't have to be an expert, but also it's not a course for beginners. This is perfect for those who want to take their astrological practice to the next level, to learn how to do forecasts with transits for themselves or for others. At the end of this 1 month intensive course, which by the way starts on the 7th of May and ends on the 29th of May, at the end of this course you will be able to build from scratch a forecast for you or for others. Limited space is available, so if you want to sign up straight away. Thank you once again, and I will see you next time. Bye.